Hi everyone, I'm Ray and welcome back to my channel. For today I am going to be continuing with what I said I was going to do last video, which is practicing more realistic features. I do some realistic artwork off camera. It's hard to film because it takes me so long, but I figured that I'm trying to do more realistic portraits for a couple of my D&D characters and some of my friends' D&D characters from our campaign. So in order to get them to look the way that I want them to look, I'm really struggling with eyes and noses. Eyes because I always make them too big, so they end up looking like Disney characters, which some of them it could work, most of them it couldn't. They would just look kind of ridiculous, especially our great big dwarf barbarian. Yeah, with great big doe-eyed Disney eyes. So that's one thing that's probably going to be the next realistic feature that I practice. But noses, I've recently done a portrait of one of my friends' Warcraft / D&D characters, because I play a lot of both. And the nose just, it didn't look the way that I wanted it to. It looked okay, but it wasn't what I was going for. So I figured that I really do need to just sit down and practice. So I've got my watercolours. I'm going to use just one single standard aquarelle Winsor & Newton brush, and I'm just going to, I've sketched them out, I'm just going to sit down and colour them in and try to make them look the way that I want to, because I really like it when your sketch shows through your watercolours. I think it gives just a really nice sort of organic look, but the graphite can kind of smudge, so I'm hoping that won't be too much of an issue. But again, it's just practice, so you live and you learn. But thank you for joining me for my sketch practice, and let's crack on. Okay, so I'm just starting off by laying down some flat washes of basic colour because I wanted to do 3 different skin tones. The one at the top left didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to be. The lady in the reference I was using had this beautiful olive toned skin, and try as I might, I just couldn't get that undertone down. It ended up looking slightly green, so then I had to put the pink over the top to neutralise it a bit, and it just kind of ended up looking sort of a sandy browny colour, not what I was going for. But it doesn't look bad by any means. It still looks like a valid skin tone, so that's good. Much better than green anyway. So I started out by putting down the base layer, and then I blocked in the major shadows with a lighter wash of the same colour, but enough that it would be dark enough to show through. I always do this as well. I forget to either tape down or clip down the sides of my sketchbook. It is watercolour paper. It's the Arteza watercolour, the 3-pack that you can get. The paper's really good. I really enjoy it. It doesn't sort of lift or pill up or anything like that, and you can sort of scrub it a bit. It takes some abuse when you're trying to lift the colour up, so that's good. but I always forget to pin it down because it does warp slightly, so I should really get better at that. But yeah, so that's something I definitely need to work on. I also blocked in the darkest areas for the nostrils, which I had to go over and block in a lot more. I didn't realise quite how light the wash that I'd made was going to be, so I ended up going through with, it was a mix of neutral tint and I think I mixed some Moon Glow in there as well, which I probably shouldn't have done because I didn't really want granulation through this, but I like the way it turned out in the end anyway. So it's just a case of building up more and more of the shadows, and then every now and then when it starts looking too blocky, I end up going over with a whole wash of the original skin tone that I did, or a slight variation on it. Now I did sketch these using reference, but when I painted them I didn't have the reference with me because I'm also in the midst of filming something else where I show the difference between if you paint using reference and if you don't paint using reference. So that I'm going to do these 3 noses again, but I'm going to do them whilst viewing the picture, so instead of just doing it from memory, I'll be looking at what I'm attempting to paint. The one on the right hand side was nowhere near as dark as I wanted it in the beginning. I should have gone darker than I did. I did still want to build up, but in the end I had to layer quite a few layers of the skin tone over the top instead of starting out a little bit darker. It's not too awkward, but I did lose the form of the nose a bit because in trying to build it up there's only so many layers that the paper can take, and I ended up getting to a point where I could feel that it was sort of taking as much as it could take, so I ended up having to use darker washes instead of being able to build up. If I'd have just started with a darker layer, then I could have got more transparency and more translucency than having to go in at the end with a couple of really pigmented layers. I also know that there's some magically appearing jewellery on my left arm. In between the cuts there, I went to the hairdressers and I got my fringe cut because it was getting to the point where I was starting to look a bit like Cousin It. There's a section here where I'm really struggling to mix the skin tone that I want. It just ends up either being green or a slightly too purple. I also ended up losing a lot of the contrast on the darker skin tone in the right side. It just ended up smoothing everything out. I think I needed to push the contrast a bit more and make the shadows a lot darker. Maybe I've added some more purple into them. some white gouache and lightening up some areas, because I hadn't preserved the white of the paper. So this is the Winsor & Newton designing gouache. It's really nice, but the problem I've got is that it was so expensive that for sketching I don't really use it because I don't want to waste it. But for Christmas I've got some of the Himi Mia gouache that my parents got me. It arrived the other day, so now I've just got to sit and patiently wait for it for 25 days. So I'm excited to use it. I'm hoping that because there's a lot more of it and it's not quite as expensive as the Winsor & Newton stuff that I've got, that I won't be so scared about wasting it, and I'll actually get round to using it and practicing more with it. And that's how they came out. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you again. Bye!